department saying, yes, they don't need it. So after the city council declares it as a surplus, and then you guys proceed with the RFP.
Right. Well, we're gonna get it assessed, if I'm not mistaken, through Alexi Vega, and then we would proceed with whatever, the assessed value is, depending on whether it's over or under 35 grand, whether it's an R.
Of it. So,
We do, but if you access it through Doyle Street, you can get to it from Open, and there's a
Okay, councilors, at this point, I will accept nomination for Vice Chair of the Budget and Finance Committee.
Nominate Councilor District D as a vice chair for this committee. Vivian Marmol.
There's a nomination.
I
I
second that.
second that. This, Councilor Marmol, do you accept?
I do.
Okay. I'll call the roll for the nomination. Any other nominations? Nope. I'll call the roll. Council President Rodriguez,
Councilor District D, Vivian Marmol.
Councilor Marmol,
Vivian Marmol.
and the chair votes for Vivian Marmol. Congratulations. At this point, can I please have you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Last time I forgot about this yesterday. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may either attend in person here at the City Council chambers or may use our Facebook and YouTube pages. Councilors, at this time, we do have minutes to approve from our meeting from November 15th. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from 11/15/2023.
Motion has been made. Can I get a second?
You're able to second if you read it, and then, or we can just table it, leave it here for next time.
So can I get a motion to table the minutes?
you have to-
You don't have to?
Just leave it.
All right. Okay, let's keep it moving then. All right, first item that we have tonight is item 7-24, Firefighters Local 147 Union, approve collective bargaining agreement and trust and fund transfer of $1,407,000. And we are joined tonight by our CAFO, Mr. Iannello. Mr. Iannello, the floor is yours.
Good evening, councilors. This is a collective bargaining agreement with the firefighters union. I have, in my cover letter, I just explained that it's a 3-year contract from July 1, 22 to 6/30/25, which is the same term as all the other unions in the city. The total transfer is $1.4 million. That'll be coming from the current reserves and prior reserve year funds, so they're from available funds. There's no additional appropriation from free cash required for this transfer. In addition, there's attached to my cover letter, there's a CAFO certification, brief synopsis of what the agreement entails, and then a copy of the actual agreement itself. So briefly, I just want to point out my CAFO certification. I do have a qualification in the middle paragraph. This agreement will likely increase or may increase. The city may have to increase its taxes and/or use reserves to fund this agreement in future years, because it's a 3% agreement for 3 years. And it's likely that the 3% offered to all of the unions for FY25 will exceed the limitations of Proposition 2.5, depending on the FY25 budget. So I do have a qualification, and I just want to read it very quickly. But basically, my certification is to make sure that the city can afford this contract without impacting city services. And of course, without a commitment of the mayor and the council to either increase taxes or use reserves, we would have to cut the budget perhaps to fund this contract and all the other contracts that we've had. So that's my qualification on the CAFO certification. The city can afford it. We have an excess tax levy capacity, we have reserves, and we are able to fund this contract in its entirety. Briefly, I have just the contract, just a one-page contract synopsis. Again, as I said, it's a 3-year term. There's a change to the fire watch duty, fire watch duties that are, if there's a federal or state governmental entity who does not want to pay for a fire watch, we've got it in the agreement that the taxpayers of Lawrence wouldn't have to pay for a fire watch. We don't expect that to happen, but there was an incident with Merrimack Paper a few years ago, and that's item number 2 on the synopsis, is that they had a grievance that Merrimack Paper, which was being demolished by the EPA, a federal agency, they wouldn't pay for a fire watch. The union grieved the decision of the city not to force a fire watch because nobody would pay it. And the firefighters won that grievance. So there's in settlement of that agreement from several years, from 2015, we're offering $700. We offered $700 to each of the bargaining members, which is approximately 130 of them, to resolve that case. And then going forward, if there is a federal or state agency in the future, the city would not have to, taxpayers would not have to pay for that, as we are with this one. And next on the list is a sick leave adjustment. There was a sick leave bank that the firefighters had. It was kind of off the books. We got the work papers of what was involved, and we agreed to start their sick bank if a firefighter is out and they want to donate time to another firefighter. We agreed on a starting date of 1/1/23 of 399 days using that historical data. Records that we found, and we now have that in the payroll system, so it's not off the books, it's on our payroll system, the way it always should have been. So we agreed on that. And also, there's firefighters out on family sick, if there's any, the fire chief may ask for, provide medical documentation if they're out more than three consecutive shifts, which was not in the contract before, so that's helpful for the police chief to help with monitoring sick time. Holidays, we added Juneteenth as a paid holiday, and health insurance opt-out. If someone voluntarily opts out of our health insurance program, there is a stipend, a one-year stipend for each year that they remain out, as long as they meet certain rules, and that's something that we've had in every single union contract has adopted this health insurance opt-out strategy. Yes, Counselor?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Council President.
Can you elaborate a little more, like, what is the real meaning of that sentence, perhaps in terms of funds? Like, if somebody opts out,
Yeah,
as far as I understand, they need to provide the city with some type of proof of health insurance, other sorts of health insurance, right?
yeah, there's a bunch of things that they have to opt out, they have to let us know, I think it's in the month of June or July, once a year, they have HR has forms that they have to complete to show us if they have to have health insurance somewhere else, they can't be not insured, we want to make sure they're insured somewhere, and they can't be on a City of Lawrence plan, so they can't be in the school department, a spouse can't be in the school department and I drop out of the city, so it's very coordinated to make sure the city is saving money by not having somebody in the plan, whether it's a new employee or an existing employee, and they have to be off the plan a full year before they would receive a stipend. So the city has to receive the savings first, then the payment is made.
Got you. Essentially, you have, the city have GIC insurance, right?
GIC, yes.
Yes. So is a person that have a GIC insurance through perhaps other source, is that considered a good and valid?
If it's on a city plan, if they come off the city plan and go on, if it's GIC, I don't know how they would get on GIC somehow, but if.
Oh, the state or other.
Or if if their spouse is is a state employee and they're on the GIC, and they're off our plan, we're fine with that, they would get a payment.
Got you.
And I think it's 1,500 for a single and 2,500 for a married, or joint, a married plan.
So that's the total amount in case there's somebody's out, like a 1,500 and 2,500?
Right, right.
And that's for every year that they off our health insurance, they will get that stipend?
Annually, it would be an annual stipend. If they stay off, if they're off 1 year, they would get a payment the following year, and if they stay off again, they would get a payment the following year after that. It's the same language we have in all the other, same language, we've kept the same language in all the collective bargaining agreements, and so far, all the unions have adopted it, because it is a benefit to the employees, and it benefits to the city, because we'll save some money as well.
Does everybody, you have to, as a part of the health insurance, you need to pay 25%, right?
Right, 75/25. Yep.
Is that also available for non-union employees?
Yes, it's, I think the non-union employees, I think there is something, I'd have to verify that, there's something, it might be a different deal in the ordinances, so I'll have to check on that, but for union employees, we negotiated it. And then lastly, there's academic compensation. The fire department has academic compensation in their existing contract. We just tightened up the language because it had, for existing employees, they can stay with the existing language, but new employees, they have to make sure, it has to be in fire-related, fire safety-related courses, course management. Right now, it can be something different, so we negotiated with the union to at least limit, for new employees, they have to be in fire science-related degrees.
Is that, Madam Chair, is that the 2% that we have on the budget? The 2% increasement on salary?
The academic compensation is in the budget. They have a certain, a number of firefighters get academic compensation. They get paid by credit, so zero, I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's probably listed in here, 0 to 60 credits, they get X% of their pay, and if it's 60 to 120, it's a higher percentage, and so on.
And for those watching, I do want to state the eligible degrees, because they're not, they're fire-related, but their title can be a little misleading. But this applies to fire science degree, chemistry degree, physics degree, biology degree, nursing degree, public administration, business administration, and engineering degree under civil, mechanical, and electrician.
Yes, so those are degrees the fire chief felt were helpful. And then just lastly, this contract calls for a 3% wage increase for each of the 3 years of the contract. So on the, so getting back to the cover page, to fund that 3% increase, there's, we have prior year reserves of $300,000, current year reserves of approximately $1 million, and we're looking for a transfer from those current and prior year reserves to the fire department salary and wage account for $1,407,000. And that covers the FY, because this is retroactive, that covers FY '23 and '24's pay increase. That's why it's so large. In FY '25, in our FY '25 budget, we'll have to, it'll increase the fire department budget by approximately $1.3 million in next year as well.
Mr. Arnall, you mentioned that in order to satisfy this contract, we would have to increase taxes or the reserves. Do you have the number of the current balance that we have, the current balance of the reserve as of today?
You mean the bond payments when you say bond reserves?
No, reserves.
There's free cash reserves. We have, give me 1 second, it's roughly, it's $43.3 million.
Councilors, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Iannello?
Sure.
Council President?
Just to clarify from that free cash, is that including any of the project that we commit to, from like the school system, the Leahy School, the Olive School?
Yeah,
or
we
the-
have.
or the police department, is that
Yeah.
including here, or that's separate?
Well,
already?
that's we have, for the three, the Leahy School, the Oliver School, and the police station, when those projects were approved without a debt override, the city made a commitment, hey, we're going to use some, because we had a large free cash again from our, as you recall, our ARPA funds were turned into free cash because of our Columbia gas explosion, so we're able to take advantage of the federal regulations. And so we're going to have to use some of those reserves, approximately 20 to 25 million in future years to pay the, to subsidize the general fund operating budget with free cash reserves for the next, 12 years or so, until the existing city debt that we have starts getting paid off. So as our bond payments decrease each year, they're increased by these three projects, so we have a financial policy where our debt service, we want to keep at 7% of our net general fund revenues. So that's excluding school aid. So that number, so our 7% rises every year. So we were able to fund a capital plan. Well, in our case, we were kind of being very judicious with our capital plans. We haven't done one in the last couple of years because we know we have these three major projects are going to eat up that whole, the increase in the 7% and then some. So that's why we have to subsidize it with the free cash reserves. So we do have I'll be back at the council transferring roughly 20 million or so from when I do the final calculations from the free cash reserves to a stabilization fund for debt service. Because I have approximately 5 million in there now. I think we're going to need, maybe not quite 20 million, but I'll be back with a suggestion to council, let's transfer 18 or 20 million from free cash to that account. And now that should cover us for subsidizing the debt service until when these projects are completed, until some of the debt service starts to come off. It should
So
be, I
perfect.
think
So
it's
basically,
2028.
Just to clarify, this $43.3 million also it's including the subsidies of those three projects for the next 12 years.
Right, my
Eventually,
suggestion is let's hold on to 20 million of it, so we'll leave 20, let's call it
Gotcha.
23
All right,
million
just
we
wanna
have
make sure.
available.
Thank you.
So we're in
Thank you,
good
Madam Chair.
financial shape still.
I had two questions, but Mr. Ainella, you covered them. One was under the sick days, and then the health insurance. So I'm all set. Do we have any other questions? Councilor Marmol?
I just get clarity in terms of like the 3% wage increases throughout the next 3 years. How, do you have, what would be the dollar amount that would be
yes.
used from the free cash?
Yeah, well, right now, we're able to fund it all out of we're going to fund this out of existing reserves. This 1.4 million is not coming out of free cash. But next year, we may have to use a little free cash or increase the tax rate to afford all the 3% that we gave to all the unions. So that's a caveat for my memo, because 3%'s a little, Proposition 2.5, it's only 2.5% of an increase of the prior year taxes is all you can raise. And we're giving 3% wage increases to our employees, so that's going to exceed our 2.5% normal tax levy increase. And so that might trigger us to use some of our excess tax levy capacity, or we might have to use some of these reserves to subsidize the FY25 budget. That we'll be doing that in the spring.
So for the next 3 years, the wage increases are going to be through the existing reserves?
Yeah, FY23 and FY24 is funding this 1.4 million, will fund those 2 years. So next year, FY25 will have to build into next year's budget. And again, because to balance next year's budget in the spring, when I come to you with a new budget, to balance that budget, we may have to use either some reserves or an increase of the tax levy to fund the budget at their existing level of services.
Okay, at this point, do you have another question or comment?
No, but we can leave it for the full council.
At this point, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to send it to the full council with a favor.
Motion has been made, is there a second? Second has been made. I'll call, we don't have anybody online. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much, Mr. Arnold.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is item 9-24, authorization to expend funds of $56,000 for the recycling, the dividends program, the RDP grant that's coming from MassDEP. And we do have our recycling coordinator online, Mrs. De Rosario. Mrs. De Rosario, can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly. I'm very sorry I was not able to make it in person as all the time,
That's okay. You have,
but I'm not feeling very well, so I had to unfortunately log in online. I hope you can understand me and hear me well as well.
yes, we can hear you and we completely understand. You have the floor to discuss this item and the monies that this grant will bring for the recycling.
Oh, I cannot hear you now. Hold on. And I can hear you now.
You can hear us now? You can start explaining the grant. Can you hear us now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Okay, you can go ahead and explain this grant to the committee.
Of Mass DEP. We were able to get 14 points this year once again. And with these funds, I pretend to continue purchasing recycling containers to distribute to the community.
Okay, thank you. Councilors, do you have any questions or comments for Mrs. De Rosario?
I do.
Council President?
Ms. Del Rosario, do you mind going over and tell us two questions? You can do it now, or you can do it at the full council, that's not a problem. But how many recycling bins you expecting to purchase with this amount of dollars? And the other question will be, is the distribution for those recycling bins going to be different than the first time?
I will answer now, and I can also answer at the full council, since I pretend to be there physically. But right now, we will continue to distribute these containers per request, making sure that our residents are recycling and being compliant with the materials that need to be in the bin. And roughly an amount that I can probably tell you, each container costs us about $70.
Satisfy your question? Any other questions or comments for our recycling coordinator? Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to send it to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? It's been properly second. All those in discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes have it. Thank you, Rosana. We'll see you at the full council.
Thank you, have a good night.
Before I continue with the agenda, I do want to say items 483-23 and 484-23, that's the IRAP. So we are going to lose a member for these two items due to,
Potential conflict of interest.
yeah, conflict of interest, sorry, my brain. So what we're going to do is take it out of committee at the full council next meeting, so you don't have to stay here anymore. I apologize. No problem. All right, so the next item is item 10-24, appropriation transfer of $652,599.31 from free cash to the opioid settlement accounts, and we have,
Kate King for the Office of Planning and Development, 360 Merrimack Street, Unit 270.
welcome. So can you tell us more about this, please?
Yeah, so this is the transfer of funds that originally came in before there was a project set up in Munis. So it was just sitting there, and when you went to close out the fiscal year, the city went to close out the fiscal year, they had to put it somewhere, so they put it into free cash. Now that we have the project set up, we want to move that money into the project level so we can continue forward, go contracting with some contractors and some other nonprofits.
Council President?
Do you mind going over about the most important items that you're going to be using this fund for?
So there's a budget for just this, I have a budget for just the $652,000. A lot of it's going to be purchase services, so we're supposed to be contracting with, hopefully, Lawrence Methuen Community Coalition. They have an existing opioid program. We want to expand it into Lawrence deeper. We have some money set aside for police overtime, so they can come out with the group to the encampment, so they're not going alone. We do have at least one nurse who has agreed to come out and go to the encampments, and a mental health worker also, after their hours, after their regular job, so we'll contract with them. I believe there is a hope to partner with Lawrence Family Development Prospera for a youth program. Some of it is youth diversion, some of the funds. Those are the ones that come to the top of my head right now.
There is a need, for the next council meeting, do you mind bringing over percentage-wise? I know you don't have those figures now, but percentage-wise, how much money we're going to be using for prevention, and how much money we're going to be using for the current situation that we have with the homeless? In general. Like,
okay,
I mean,
yeah.
actual service to the homeless
Prevention.
and then prevention on the other side. Because
So
I'm interested to
prevention
know,
and then
like, you know.
services to people currently experiencing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yep.
All right, thank you. No more questions.
Further questions or comments? Okay, at this point, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to send it to the full council for the transfer of $652,599.31 to the full council with a fair recommendation.
Motion has been made, it's properly second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We'll see you at the
Okay.
next council meeting.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is item 1124, to authorize to expend funds of $50,000 of the Edward Rain Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for fiscal year '24. And we have here today Director of Support Services from the Lawrence Police Department, Rosa Shepherd, and also we have Chief Castro in the room as well. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, City Councils. My name is Rosa Shepherd, Director of Support Services at the Lawrence Police Department, and I'm here to present the JAG grant, FY24, or the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Fund for $50,000. We were invited to apply for this grant. This grant is is for equipment for the law enforcement. We applied and we were approved to, for the $50,000.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Shepherd? Councilor Marmal.
Is it just solely for equipment, and if so, is it designated to specific equipment?
No, it's not designated for specific equipment, but it has to be for law enforcement purposes. That has to be equipment specific for the police department. It cannot be for any other department.
And that's a requirement from the grant requirements.
That is correct. It is required for this grant.
Do you guys currently have in place as to what the grant would be used for?
So right now, we were thinking about purchasing a Mark Cruiser, but again, it can be, we can buy anything. As long as it's for law enforcement, we can definitely buy anything. When we do this report, we do have to send copy of the invoices, copy of the checks, so for us to prove that the money was used for what it was intended for.
So as of yet, though, there hasn't been a determination as to what exactly the grant would be used for?
No.
Council President.
But, thank you for being here again. But you do have on the reports that you're going to be using it for a laptop and a cruiser.
Yes, it can. I know, as I mentioned before, we are planning to use it to buy a cruiser, but it can be if we decide not to do it, we can buy any other equipment related to the law enforcement.
Yes, I understand the purpose of the grant, but I mean, I think that like when it comes to us, you're looking for an authorization to spend. And when it does in general, any grant, and when you have that authorization to spend, you have to have a purpose for us. Like you, basically, I understand that the purpose of the grant can allow you to do anything, but when it comes to allowing you, the department, to spend that grant, we have to have like some specifics.
Okay, I understand.
The intent is perfect, fine, no problem, but I just want to make sure that procedure-wise, when you present some information to us, because it happened a lot of time before, not necessarily with the police department, and it have happened with the police department, I'm pretty sure, that, you know, you change your mind later on, and, oh, the authorization is already done, we don't have to go back to council, but and then we're wondering, like, what happened with that fund? Oh, they use it for something else. It was like,
I understand.
again.
No, I understand.
But yes, please try to kind of like keep it consistent, try to kind of do your research before you come here, and then make sure that you put it there.
Not a problem. I understand. Thank you.
How many cruisers, and I don't know if maybe the chief may know this question, but you gotta do some work. You can't just sit in the back there. No, I'm just kidding.
How many cruisers we have purchased?
How many cruisers as of right now do we need overall for the department, aside from this potential one that we may be purchasing?
Good evening, William Castro here, the acting chief of police, Lawrence Police. It's funny that you say that because,
You're not acting.
well, professional, sorry. I just had the list today of all the cruisers that we have, but I didn't count them. However, I had a meeting with my captains and lieutenants on the detectives division. Our fleet of cruisers, the Mark unit, we pretty much all set. We're up to date. We are so well prepared that we used to run vehicles 24 hours. So now what we did, we divided the vehicles so that we can run them only on a shift. Then we'll bring the other crew, run them on another shift, and vice versa. So the only cruisers that we're gonna need is gonna be for our detectives division, which we have 10 detectives, so we're gonna need about 4 cruisers. High mileage, the last one I read today, the highest is 175,000 miles. And I apologize for my throat, I got my thyroid a little acting up.
Thank you.
But I have a list, I can give it to you early in the morning.
Okay, thank you. Councilors, do you have any other questions or comments on this item?
I'll make a motion.
I'll entertain your motion.
I'll make a motion to send to the full council with a fair recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? It's been properly second. Discussion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you. We'll see you, full council.
Thank you.
Wait, have another item.
I got one
I have,
more.
no, there's one
I
more.
got one
okay.
more.
So the one more item, item 12-24, the authorization to expend funds of $299,866.91 for the 2020 Sharon Grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. Ms. Shepherd, can you tell us more about this grant, please?
Sure. We have the opportunity to apply one more time for the FY24 for this grant, and we were approved for this grant for $299,866.91. This grant will help to pay for overtime for the Lawrence Police Department, as well to keep running the junior police academy program that the SRO runs at the school level. The Junior Police Academy, what they do with the students is that they work together to recruit and promote the Junior Police Academy to perform anti-violence and anti-gun educational programs in the classroom and during the school program. Don't know, but I also want to mention that it's the kids that enroll in the Junior Police Academy, they are able to graduate. So we do a graduation for them at the end of the program. Again, we do have the SROs and we do have the officers helping on these tasks to be able to promote safety and try to keep the kids away from the streets. We run the open gyms twice a week. Again, it's just for kids to come in and be with the officers throughout the night. Besides that, we have 7 community partners in the city of Lawrence. I'm pretty sure you're aware, which is the YWCA, the CISU, or the Alternative Youth Development Program. We have at Lawrence, Change the Plate, the newest one that we added last fiscal year, and they are more than happy to work with us again. It's Sueños Basketball, as well the Boys and Girls Club and the YWCA at the Lawrence office. They are still working with us as our community partners.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Council President.
Last year, we have everybody coming in. We're not gonna do this year, trust me. I mean, I got it. I see that they went up a little more, like on this year, because last year they were getting about $22,000 or $21,500, something like that.
22,000, that's even. This year, the state upped the budget by 3.8%. They didn't give us any specific amount. They let us know to have the partners to apply for as much as they can, and they will let us know how much they will approve for. So this year, each partner got approved for $30,000. So a little bit more than past fiscal years.
Right. I don't want them to come over again, but I would like them to kind of like, stay on top of the grant, perhaps sending us a quicker statement as of what they're planning on doing.
Okay.
And that way we can have that for the record. That's good to keep that on the record, since they're gonna increase the amount of dollars. I see that some of the things that they're gonna be using here, they're already here, but I mean, I think that expanding a little more, it will help. I see that, that there's some that are going to be using it for rent, there's going to be using it for mental health and stuff like that, but I think that expanding a little more will help out to keep it on the record. Something that probably came from them directly, as related to the item, just like they did previously, but they came over and explained. Just, some type of writing.
Would you like a report or a brief summary of if they have added any new programs for this fiscal year?
Yeah, but to be a little specific to the grant, because I mean, I remember that, the Boys and Girls, they come over and they say, oh, this sucks that many of the programs that we already have, and I get it. But I mean, a little bit more specific as to
I think
what
a
they're going to
brief
be doing.
summary
Yeah.
will be sufficient.
I like to deal on numbers. I like numbers. So I like to, we were just discussing prior to coming up here, the numbers they are being reported. What are the assistance that they're giving to the kids? after school. I want some numbers. So we're gonna create a spreadsheet. We don't need the names, but we need actual numbers to see how many the kids are benefiting from this.
Another thing that I brought up, reduce the age. Remember that we were going to have a type of discussion when it comes to, having kids coming from 6 to 9. I believe the minimum age is about 9, I think.
10.
10.
Right now,
Yeah. So we were gonna see accessibility through the grant, to the grant, the people that give out the grants, to see if we can perhaps reduce the age, because I mean, essentially, this grant is to, for prevention, gun prevention, and many other things that might happen in the street. But if we look at it, by the age of 10, we have a lot of kids already involved on different activities that if they decide, if they have some type of prevention before that, 7 years old, 7 years old or around that age, that might help a little more. And it doesn't necessarily have to be perhaps the same level of intensity that we have for the open gym, but perhaps something that allow them to understand that the police department is there to help, and is there. You guys are our friends, not necessarily something to be scared of. You know what I mean? So sometimes that perception on kids, because parents use that against the kids, So if we start working institutionally, as to how to prevent that and have them be part of the solution, that might help.
Statistically, I did gangs for a long time. They started between 7 and 8. That's what they start joining the gang. So that's a good idea. And the prevention part is outstanding. We need to work more on the prevention part.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further comments or questions? At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to send it to the full council with a fair recommendation.
Motion has been made and properly second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank
Now you guys are done. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The next. Yep, you're one of our regulars.
I know.
The next item on our agenda is item 13-24, authorization to expend funds of $27,500 from a cooling grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we have our recreation director here with us, Director Gonzalez.
How are you,
Welcome.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, City Council President? How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. So the cooling grant is a grant that it was applied by Community Development about 2 years ago with the help from the Recreation Department. So we got awarded $27,000 to put misters around the city. So we want to expand the funds. We're in the process right now of picking the equipment and working with DPW and the Water Department of where we're going to station these misters around the city. So the cooling grant was based for, low-income communities, and that's why we got awarded the grant for this. So that's something that we're working on right now. And that's why we came to talk with you guys in the council to make sure we can expend those funds to get those projects going.
Councilors, any further comments or questions for Director Councilor Martmo?
You just mentioned that you guys are going to make the determination as to where in the city of Lawrence that these cooling stations are going to be located. How do you guys come up with that determination?
So we have to follow, like I said, we have to follow the grant's guidelines of it has to be in low-income communities. So it also needs to be, when we see our city, we're a low-income, there's different, how can I put this? There's different districts are the most needed, especially the misters are for when we have heat waves across the state, which are the neighborhoods in our communities that need it the most. And also it comes down to the easiest places where we can work with the water department and get the water supply to be able to have them work, because we just don't want to try to put a project, in a neighborhood and not have the equipment or the resources and go over budget to put these misters in a specific district. So when it comes to that, that's what we're talking with the water department and DPW to make sure where we decide with the administration of where we want to put these misters, we have the appropriate resources to make it happen.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to send to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? It's been properly second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. We have our next and final item is item 14-24, authorization to expend funds up to $100,000 from the Red Sox Foundation for Howard Park repairs. Mr. Gonzalez?
Right, so we have a league in the community, this Lawrence Central Little League. They actually went ahead and applied for a grant with the Red Sox Foundation. So you guys should have got a little draft of what the Red Sox Foundation is. They give uniforms, they help out with anything to ask. So the city got awarded by the Morgan Wallen Foundation and CVS Health a grant of up to $100,000. Once we have the number, I could give you the specific number, how much it is that's gonna be awarded, but it's a scope of service of what things are gonna be fixed at the Howard Park. So the concentration is gonna be at the Howard field. So we're talking about the 4 fields. The scope explains, like field 1, field 2, field 4, and little things that are gonna be used with the money to fix the park. I know a representative from the Red Sox Foundation is gonna be here when it comes to full council. So if you guys have any questions to ask them, they will be here to explain a little bit more about the foundation, but that is what they want to do. They want to use the grant to help refurbish and fix some of the things at the Howard Park.
I do want to say the Red Sox Foundation has been absolutely amazing to our kids in our community. Everything that they did for our opening days last summer was amazing, took it to the next level, and I'm not sure if it's the same representative who will be joining us at the next meeting, but there was a young man from the foundation, he's from Rhode Island, and I got to connect with him, and he absolutely loved being here. So I'm excited that this partnership is expanding. Any questions or comments?
I would like to make a motion to send it to the full council for the expenditure of the up to 100K. I would like to make that as a form of motion.
Motion has been made, properly second. Discussion, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, counselors, at this time, are there any tabled items that you would like to untable? No, okay. Which item is that?
Item 23421.
23421, 234. Okay.
Update on that.
Is that a motion?
I would like to make a motion to take item 23421, which is the tax collections and local receipts update from fiscal year 2024.
Motion has been probably second. Discussion, Council President Rodriguez.
Just on table, no?
Just on table, oh, no. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council President.
Chair, I would like to ask for an update on this item. The only change that we're going to have is the year for fiscal year 2024. And so to get an update on that and get a letter or a memo from the CAFO will be great. I would like to make that as a motion to send correspondence to the CAFO to give us an update.
Motion has been made, properly second. Discussion, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Maria, do you go? Okay. And at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second. Motion to table, item
Thank you, Maria.
23421.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
And it's been probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Now, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Thank you so much and have a great night.